Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this very first online higher education parents' evening. And I hope that the next hour and a half or so is useful. To me, it's most useful to hear your questions, to hear what we're saying is useful to you. So please do use the comment section and tell us if what we're saying is making sense, and if there's something else that you would like to know that we're not telling you. That'd be really useful. I would like to start by thanking Savannah, who is relatively new to this game. She's only been working with us now for about 6 months or so, and it's her very first one of these that we've worked with Leicester for a number of years. It's Savannah's very first one, and to have to do it online is an interesting experience. But thank you so much, Savannah. Savannah is, and I've been talking to her for a while, well experienced in terms of understanding how the situation is working at the moment. So please do ask her about that. But more importantly, is going to talk to you about the process of applying to university. Some of you may be doing this for the very first time with your children. Others may have done it before with others, but a few years down the line, it may have changed a bit since then. So I hope you're going to find that what's happening right now is what we're talking about. A bit about the process and a bit about how you're going to fund the process in the longer term. Savannah's going to do the sort of the general thing, and then if necessary, I will talk about some school systems and talk about things that with deadlines and stuff here that we've been telling the pupils today and in the future that we're working towards. So, Savannah, I'll pass over to you, and we'll start the evening with your first presentation.
Brilliant, thanks Barry. Yeah, so my name's Savannah. I'm not sure if any of you have had chance to look at the screen, but if any of you have taken part in these, here are the answers. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I know it's quite, you'll all be really busy. So taking time out of your evening, we really appreciate it, and hopefully I'm going to really help you. I can see quite a lot of you have kind of voted. Application process seems to be the thing that you're kind of most concerned about, and we will be covering that today as well. So don't worry, hopefully by the end of this I will be able to answer all those questions for you. But if you do have any comments, feel free to put those in the comments section. We will do a Q&A at the end as well, so save your questions for them. So a little bit about me. My name's Savannah, as Barry mentioned, and I'm originally from Cumbria, so right in the north of England, but I do reside in Leicester usually. So it's quite nice. I know quite a lot about the city now. Had a good explore, and it's a really lovely place to be as well. Lots of food, which I really appreciate because I'm definitely a foodie. I went to university and I studied drama and theatre when I went, and I graduated in 2017 with a first class honours. I had a really amazing time. I'm the first in my family to go. So if you ever had a chance to ask my mum how she found it as well as me, we know that it's quite daunting. It took us a long time to get our head around student finance, but hopefully I'm going to get rid of those myths that maybe you have about student finance today as well, and everything will be nice and clear for you. If you do have any questions, you can see on the right I've included a profile. This is something that I've got on the University of Leicester website. It's under the chat function. So if you do have any questions that you think of afterwards, feel free to email Barry and then he'll pass them on to me. But otherwise, you can find me on there as well. But getting a degree opens up so many doors. Since I graduated, I've done marketing communications, PR, content writing, and then recruitment as well. So whatever your child decides to do, get excited because there's a lot ahead of them as well. Have two people talking over each other. I'm just gonna, no, you shouldn't have two people talking over each other. It should just be it should just be me talking. If that's happening, just refresh your page and hopefully it'll work again. Okay, so today what I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to give you a brief background of Leicester. Some of you might know about the university. Yeah, there's me and Barry talking, that's right. Barry isn't talking at the moment, though, it's just me talking, but he will be talking soon. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background of Leicester. I'm then going to go into choosing courses and places. It can be quite daunting, especially at the moment where you can't go to those open days, so we'll have a discussion about those as well. I'll go into the application process as well, so how that looks for your child. Personal statements, which is the kind of beefy part of the application process. A little bit on student finance as well. We'll then do a recap of those key dates. I'll pass over to Barry as well so he can tell you about some of the key dates in the school, and then we'll open it up to a Q&A with myself and Barry as well. So, a background of the University of Leicester is one of the facts that I really like starting with is that we're the only university in the world that's a living memorial to the First World War. So we were actually crowdfunded by the people of Leicester, and we have very close links to our community because of that. Andrew, if you just want to try refreshing this, hopefully it'll work for you, and it'll kind of redo it. Sometimes it's the broadband and connection that can affect it. There's 22,000 students that we have in total, 13,000 full-time on campus and 9,000 at distance learning, so we do offer both. There's 4,000 full-time international students as well as this, which means that we're very globally diverse, and it's quite a nice number as well to have on campus because it means there's enough people to meet like-minded people, but also to kind of explore, meet new people from around the world as well. Some of our good rankings are that we're ranked 166 in the world and 24th in the UK in total, and we're a research intensive university, so we're top 25 for research, and the academics who teach your children are doing research as well, so we are kind of citizens of change and are doing research that's kind of helping our community and making that community feel on campus as well. So, choosing courses and places, this seems to be something that you're quite worried about, and there's some really easy things to kind of think about this. What I would do is I would make sure that you think about the course before you think about the university. Some of your children will know exactly what they want to do. If they want to be a doctor, for example, then they will know that they've got to do a degree in medicine. Easy as that. Some of them might not know. Think about what they kind of enjoy doing, talk to them about that. If they're enjoying something academically in school, then that's brilliant. See if they can take that further at university. But look outside of school as well. There might be stuff that they're involved with like theatre, maybe like St John's Ambulance as well, different things like that. And there might be career paths into that as well. So do think about that. Think about what they're doing well in as well. I absolutely loved biology when I was at school, and I worked really, really hard. But no matter how hard I worked, I just couldn't quite get that high grade. So I knew that when I went to university, if I was kind of struggling at A-level stage, I'd struggle maybe at university stage when it's a lot more challenging. So I knew that that maybe wasn't the one for me, just because there was another course that I was enjoying that I did do well in academically and kind of scored well. So think about that as well. They want to be making sure that they pick something they're going to succeed in. If they've got a specific career, great. If they look on something like prospects.ac.uk, if they're not too sure, they can find out what different degrees there is and what kind of careers they lead into. But if they've got a specific career and they're not sure if there's a degree that leads into that, then that will kind of tell them a little bit about the career that they have and the degrees people have done beforehand or any training they've done as well. So I'd recommend having a look at that. There might also be joint honour degrees if they really can't choose between two of them, so see if there's any joint honour degrees as well. But remember, it has to be their choice. There might be some things that you think would be the best choice for them, great career prospects, but they need to be making sure that they're going to really enjoy it and it's something that they're going to really flourish in as well. So make sure that they're making the right choice for them, even if it's something that maybe you think you'd like to do, because it's those guys who are going to be studying it as well. So when you're choosing a course and place, some of the things to consider are obviously with university, think about whether it has the right course, which is why we say choose a course first, because some universities don't offer the same courses. So see if it offers the right course. Entry requirements are really a really key thing to look at as well. I know some of you are saying that the sound is really bad. If you just refresh, Barry, maybe you could write it in the chat there just to get them to refresh their web page or the desktop app they have open as well. So look at the entry requirements as well with that. Entry requirements are really key. I know that your children have been doing kind of practice exams at the moment, so they can make sure they have those predicted grades. If their predicted grades kind of match the entry requirements or are just a little bit higher, it might be something that's achievable to them. So see if the entry requirements are there. If they're not achievable, then it might not be a good idea to look at those, especially with things like medicine. They're very strict. If they don't meet those requirements, then they won't get in. Other courses, it's a little bit different. Think about location as well. Get them to think, I'm sure you guys would love them close to home. My mum really, really wanted me to go to the university closest to me. But I chose to go to one that was 5 hours away. But talk to them about that. If they really love being by the sea, if they want to be somewhere where there's a lot of hiking, if they want to be in the middle of a city and feel that hustle and bustle, they need to think about the location and whether they want to be coming home on the weekends or commuting, all those different things as well. With that in mind, get them to think about whether they want to go to a campus, which is kind of a self-contained, or they want to go to a city, which is where a university is spread out throughout the city. So think about those things as well. Facilities are really important, not only the academic ones, but if they really have a hobby that they love, they need to make sure that the facilities are there to kind of make sure they keep that going as well. We've got some great ones at University of Leicester, and I really recommend that you look at our virtual campus tour so you can see all those great facilities as well. The teaching is really, really important as well. You want to be making sure that they're being taught by people who are leading in that industry. We are a research-led institution, but have a look at the teaching. Talk to the academics as well about what they do, how they teach as well. Reputation is one that comes up a lot. I know some of you have maybe heard of Russell groups. With this in mind, I would kind of question you and say, make sure you know what a Russell group is as well. When I sometimes ask people, they think it's because Russell groups are the best. Russell groups are actually universities that have been around for a long time. As long as Leicester actually opted out of being a Russell group because we didn't want to be part of that kind of community. But they're just old universities that kind of signed a petition to be kind of their own group. And that's kind of what it means. It doesn't kind of mean that they've got better student satisfaction or anything from other universities. So with that in mind, I would say make sure that you're looking at other things as well to do with reputation. Look at league tables, but make sure you're looking at a lot because they are very different, and where one university sits in one league table might be very different to another. So you want to check that out, and then check things. How well known are they for their research or teaching? How well known is their student experience as well? Do they have good student welfare? That's something that's really, really important, and you want to be making sure that they're going to be looking after them as well. Scholarships are another key one. Scholarships are free money, and who doesn't love that? So have a look, see if there's anything that your child would be able to get. Like I said, the social life and student support are really, really important. It's not just about the academic learning, it's about having a great student experience as a whole as well. So see what hobbies they have, see if the university do those. Are they at a competitive level as well? There's some weird and wonderful societies out there too. We've got Chicken Nugget Appreciation Society. If any of them really love chicken nuggets, but there's so many great things out there as well, so get them to have a look at those too. If they really are keen on doing a study abroad or year in industry, have a look out for those as well, because some universities don't do them or will study abroad at different places as well. So you want to check it's going to be somewhere that they want to be if they're really, really keen on that too. So when you kind of look at choosing a course and university, one thing I get them to do is do a spreadsheet with them. This is a really good idea. I know Some of them might be really against spreadsheets, but having all this information in one place will really help you. So think about doing things like naming the university, have the course title and UCAS code, just so it's easy to refer to when you need to go back on the website. Have the entry requirements down as well. They won't be able to kind of know their predicted grades at the moment, maybe, but if they have those entry requirements down, it means when they do know their predicted grades, they've just got those entry requirements for universities right there, really easy. With the course details, I'd make sure that they're jotting down like key modules that they think are really interesting. Modules do differ from university to university, and also the way that they're kind of assessed and taught. So they want to be making sure they're looking, if they're a practical learner, they want to make sure that it's taught in a practical way. So there's more tutorials and practicals. If they like coursework like me, they'd want to make sure that there's kind of a lot of coursework they can do rather than those exams. They might love exams though, so make sure that they can have a look at those exams too. The study abroad, a year in industry placement is a really good thing to note down just in case they're interested in that. Location away from where you are, and also what kind of campus it is, if it's a city or a campus. Just because that's going to really help you kind of decide location-wise where they want to be, and also plan travel. Key open day dates. We are doing virtual open days at the moment, and I think the one in September probably will be virtual, but after that, fingers crossed, it will all be back on campus, but we don't know at this time. They will always be virtual, and we will be putting more physical ones on, hopefully, depending on what happens with the current situation. So there will be opportunity to see campus in person as well as virtually. And then make notes as well. So if they are really fussy about accommodation, for example, they know they want an ensuite, then get them to write that down, what cost it is. If they love the gym, what is the gym membership like? And have a look at travel as well. So has it got really good public transport links as well to get there? So make a note of all these things. When they've looked at all the universities they're interested in and looked at those courses, they can then highlight that key information, and they're going to see right in front of them all the notes they've made and which has the most things they've picked up on. And that's going to really, really help them as well, because it's going to make them see physically which ones they're really, really interested in. If you're kind of worrying about how to look at universities at the moment, like I said, we're running virtual open days. It's called the main event, and you can find them on those websites. We will hopefully be running more physical ones as well. But if a university they're interested in isn't opening as a digital open day, you can always use the resources on their website to kind of make your own. There's a lot of different YouTube videos out there, subject tasters out there as well. So get them to kind of make their own, get them to plan the journey on Google Maps of how long it would take to get to the university if they were actually going, all those different things. And I know it's not as good as a real thing, but it'll just give them an idea of what it would be like on the day. There's also digital subject taster days. This gives a great feel for the university, but it also makes them kind of sit down and listen to a subject taster in the subject they're interested in. If they love it, that's amazing. It means they've got the passion to take that further, and it's also something that they can write about in their personal statement. If they don't like it, that's also great, because it means that maybe they need to kind of look at one of the other options that they have for a course as well. So I'd really recommend those, and we have ours on our website as well. There's also webinars. Lots of universities are doing ones just to everyone. You guys are really lucky today because you've got your own, but we do a range of ones just to the public as well. So have a look at some webinars universities are doing. Look at league tables, but remember to look at a few and take them with a pinch of salt. Also look at online prospectuses, because there's loads of information on those. Social media channels often have social media takeovers by the students, so you actually see what their life's like as well. There's also the YouTube channels that have loads of different videos. We've got like different accommodation tours on there and student videos on there too. There's virtual campus tours of accommodation and campus. And then we've got a thing called UniBuddy, which is on our website, where you can chat to students And you can also see their vlogs and blogs on there as well. So you can see kind of what kind of advice they give to students, what they wish they'd known as well. So there's lots of different information that you can kind of look at there as well. And I'm sure Barry's got loads of different things that he can kind of signpost you to as well if you're struggling. So onto the application process. So with this, the basics of it are as it's submitted via UCAS, which stands for University and College Admission System. It's got advice on apprenticeships, gaps years, and internships in case they're kind of maybe thinking about doing those as well. They're not too sure. They can have a look at that. And it's a great search tool as well as where you kind of do your application. They can search all the universities in the UK and all those different courses as well. So do have a look at UCAS. They'll become very, very familiar with it if they're not already. It's up to 5 choices that they make, and so they can apply to up to 5 universities or courses. And it's one application to all of those. So they need to be making sure that they're not referencing any university in particular in their personal statement or any course in particular, because it goes to all of those places that they choose. So they do need to keep names out of it. Teachers do check through this before submission as well, just to make sure that everything's all right with that as well. And if there is any issues, they'll kind of go over before it gets submitted. So how this kind of works is from now to October, they want to be researching the courses that they're interested in the universities, and they also need to start writing their personal statement. For me, it took me about 13 drafts before I was happy, and I started around this time. That's just because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but also it just meant that I had enough time. I could do it over summer, and I didn't feel panicked and rushed towards the end. When they get to October, January time is when they'll apply. The school will have internal deadlines, so I'll pass over to Barry in a second to give you those. The main deadline is the 15th of October for Oxbridge Medicine, Dentistry and Veterinary Science, and then the 15th of January for all other applications as well, except some art ones. They're a little bit later because they've got a portfolio that they need to do. Barry, I don't know if you want to jump on quickly
Yes,
to
yes.
let them know the school's deadline.
I have posted on our Google Classroom that all the students have access to our UCAS checklist, and it has a series of deadlines, both for those that are aiming for the October deadline and for those that are aiming for the January deadline. As I said to the pupils today, I've seen a lot of pupils today, and I'll see a few more tomorrow, that our theory is that the earlier you get your application to the universities, the better it is. It often means that you are looking at the application, they're looking at the application with a very small number around them, so they've got more time to spend looking at them. And often universities will make offers immediately, straight away, as soon as they've got the application in, if they know the candidate is strong. They won't wait until January or October. They will actually give you an immediate offer. So universities can, or students can often be sitting with offers in their hand in November, while others are still struggling to get their personal statements, and that can be a powerful kind of like incentive for them. So we're working towards everyone trying to finish their application by October half term if they're aiming for January. That gives us a chance to write references and get all university applications off in November ahead of the rush in December and January. Now, I say that every year, of course, I'm still looking at quite a few in early January. And as I was saying to Savannah earlier, this is most likely because students are waiting to the very last minute to see if a member of staff will alter their UCAS predicted grade. Although I would urge pupils and parents to not play the waiting game too much this year. Yes, if they're being given an indication that if they do it well in a certain test, which is a bit later, then they by all means wait. But too often people wait in vain, that the grades don't change, and in the end what happens is the application goes off at the last minute along with thousands of others, and the implications are there. For our October deadline, of course, we have specialists who are looking at the Oxbridge Medicine, Dentistry and Veterinary Science applications, and for those our deadlines are earlier, and we would hope to be looking at application forms in September to get them off as early as we possibly can. in September or early October. I think that probably.
Brilliant, thanks. So there's the deadlines for you there. So as well as that, just to kind of add on to that, we do find that applications do kind of trickle until January, so we get them done a lot quicker. Whereas they might have to wait a little bit longer if they do wait till January. So it's definitely worth getting them in on time and sticking to those school deadlines just as well, so the teachers don't feel kind of stressed about looking at the applications as well. January to March time is when the offers come in. So that's when they'll start getting their conditional offers, unconditional offers, interviews, rejects, and they'll have the choice to go to UCAS Extra if they are rejected from everything. You can only decide, so I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a second. March to May time is when they decide. So they have a conditional firm that they choose. So their really top place that they really want to go to. A conditional insurance, which is a backup choice. And then they reject the other offers they have if they got them. They go to offer holder days as well, or applicant visiting days, as some universities call it. And that's where they get a chance to see the university before they make their final decision. May to July time is when they revise for their exams and take them, and then they'll be able to apply for the university accommodation as well. They usually can only apply to their conditional firm choice of accommodation, and then they choose their conditional offer, conditional insurance choice. They only kind of do that accommodation if they end up going there. Some universities are different though, so make sure you check that out. They usually do it where it's guaranteed accommodation. For Leicester, it's guaranteed accommodation for the first year as long as they meet the deadline. But it's done on a kind of, if you get your application in earlier, you get your first choice of accommodation, whereas if it's a little bit later, you might not get your first choice in accommodation. August time is then results day, and so hopefully it's everything they want and they get to celebrate. If not, they can always go through clearing. There's lots of different choice on there as well, and the school's there to support them as well as us, where they're all through the week. If they do really, really well, they can go through adjustment as well. Or they can choose to self-release into clearing if they find a university that they wanted to apply to and didn't because the grades were too high, and they found that the grades have gone down in clearing. September to October time is then when they start university, and you kind of pack them off in the silver car and they make their final journey in education as well. So to talk through that in a little bit more, how the application looks is they've got 6 different sections. The first one's really easy, it's just the personal details. You might have to go through it with them if they're struggling on a few questions, but they're usually pretty straightforward. Section 2 is their course choices, so those up to 5 options I was talking about for the universities. Section 3 is then the education history, so that's where they write in their GCSEs. If they've got UCAS tariff points from anything else, I know I did a sports leadership level 3 qualification when I was at school, and it had tariff points. But also some music exams that are grade 6 and above do as well, so it's worth checking out and putting them in because everything helps really. Section 4 is then the employment history. If they do have a part-time job, they can put it in there. Section 5 is the personal statement, so the bit that they spend the most time on, and it's where they can mention work experience if it's required for a course, and also kind of show themselves and how well-rounded and suited to the course they are. And then section 6 is a reference. They don't need to worry about this too much because the teacher will write this for them, and they can kind of talk to the teacher once it's assigned to see if there's anything that they think that they're doing that the teacher might not know about as well, or anything that they're mentioning in their personal statement they think should be reiterated in the reference, and they'll be able to guide them on that as well. So you've been listening to me for a very long time now, so as you can see, I am the Jeremy Clarkson of tonight, and we're going to play a little game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So it's the top 3 opening statements of a personal statement in a UCAS cycle to Leicester. So you're going to have 4 choices, and I want you to write in the comments section what you think the answer is, and all will be revealed So, with this, the first question is, from a young age, I have always been interested in. How many people did you think said this in a UCAS cycle to Leicester? Do you think this was A, 1,779 students, B, 791, C, 2,103, D, 1,528? Ooh, a lot of C's coming in already. Oh, A seems to be the next popular as well. I'll give you 10 more seconds to get your answers in. Okie dokie. C seems to be just winning that, I would say. Barry's agreeing with me, so let's see if you're right. So it was A. So well done. That was kind of the close one. A few people said A, so pat on the back if you said A. Well done. I can see someone said A after we revealed the answers. That is cheating, so don't do that. Get it in beforehand. The next question is, for as long as I can remember, I have. How many students do you think said this? Do you think it was A, 1,623, B, 1,205, C, 1,451, or D, 807? B's and C's, it seems to be the most popular. Yeah, a lot of B's coming through. Oh, there's an A as well. Let's just come through as well. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Okay, that was a lot more mixed this time, but I think we're going to go with B. I think B maybe just clinched it there. It was C. So well done if you said C. You get a round of applause. So the next one and the last one. So if you're on a streak and you've got 2 out of 2 so far, this is your last chance to get a full house. And the next one is, I am applying for this course because. Do you think it was A, 1,526, B, 1,370, C, 1,103, or D, 600? These are all quite close, so it might be a little bit harder. I can see a few people are putting in, oh, B and D seem to be the most popular so far. I'll give you a few more seconds to get your last minute guesses in. Those of you who are on 2 out of 2 will definitely want to get a full house. You'll get a proper round of applause from me if you do. Okie dokie. I think, oh, it's quite tight. There's a lot of B's and there's some D's in there as well. Oh, and now some C's as well. I think we're going to go for D. I think that seems to be the most popular. Okay, so it was B. So well done if you said B. I'm not sure if a few people said that. Chris said X. Unfortunately, that isn't an option. But well done anyway. If you got 3 out of 3, well done. Round of applause. Even if you got 2 as well, because it is quite hard. So well done for saying that. One of the main things I'm trying to get across by doing this is they are commonly used statements. A lot of them aren't true as well. You know, I've always wanted to be a doctor. You weren't born wanting to be a doctor. So make sure they're telling us why they want to be a doctor. You know, where has that key moment come for them where they realise that's the course they want to do? That's the thing that's really inspired them. And that's going to make sure that they're being really unique when writing their personal statement. So make sure that they're kind of using this time to get inspired by that course and really think about what's interesting them as well. With the personal statement, it's a 4,000 character limit. So that's around a side of A4 paper. They cannot go over that. It cuts off of that in the application statement. For that reason, it's a good idea to make sure that they're drafting on something like Word or Google Documents first. I'm sure Barry and other teachers will make sure that they're doing that. Yeah. But it's just a good idea because they'll find it really, really hard to write anything at first. If they're anything like me, trying to write something, just having a blank document in front of you, it's really, really scary, and it's really hard to kind of write about yourself as well. But once they get going, they'll have so much different stuff that they will have written about, and they will have to cut it down probably too, which is why it's a good idea to do it in Word. Like I said, it's one statement for all those applications, and it is similarity checked by UCAS systems as well. So we will know if they've copied someone else. It's a really bad idea for them to do this, just because we want to know about them, and we're not going to know about that if they do copy someone. The aim is to convince the admissions tutor to make an offer to study one of their courses. So they need to be making sure that they're kind of backing everything up. They're showing how motivated they are, that they've done independent study, and also how the subjects that they're doing at the moment are going to prepare them in what they want to do. Because even if they're doing something like biology, psychology, and English literature at the moment, and they want to do biology at university, those three subjects give them really key academic skills. You know, English has critical reflection and analysis. Psychology, they've got the nature nurture argument, and biology is giving them the wider knowledge as well and problem solving. So, really get them to think about that as well. Make sure that they do proofread it. If they're anything like me, I kind of feel like after the third time I've read something, it starts looking good, even though there might be a few grammatical errors. So make sure that they do get you or a teacher, or maybe both, to look over that personal statement, just to make sure it's the best it can be, and make sure that they do start that early as well. The worst thing for them to happen is that they kind of feel that it's really rushed, kind of get it in because the deadline's coming up, and then think that they haven't got an offer from somewhere and think, oh, well, if I'd maybe done that in my personal statement or gave myself a little bit more time, I would have had a stronger application. So just make sure they start it early. The thing that they need to remember is showing that they're motivated, showing they're well rounded, so using different examples to show the skills and knowledge that they have, and showing those skills and achievements as well. It is an academic application, so it needs to be 75% or around that of academic, and then 25% personal. So that's the extracurricular hobbies and stuff that they've done, and any awards like music awards as well that they might have. If they need to include work experience because it's an entry requirement, personal statement is where they would put that work experience. If they don't require it as part of their course, then they don't need to include it. But if they feel that that work experience has given them a really good transferable skill or knowledge that would really help them in the course they're interested in, they can, of course, put it in as well. I've put ABC method down there as well. They might use something that's similar to this, but not this. But what ABC method means is it's activity, so the thing that they're doing, and then the benefit, so what skill or what knowledge has that kind of improved, and then C is the course, so making sure that they're relating back to the course. This just ensures that they're doing good showing off. So they're kind of always relating and always using evidence when saying something as well, which will really give them that strong application. So you're probably wondering why there's loads of sheep on the screen. It's not because I'm from Cumbria and love them. It's because it's really important that they're unique. Nice little pun there for you as well, if anyone knows anything about sheep. It's really important that they show everything about those, and what's important to those guys as well. The independent learning is really key and where this comes in as well, because the stuff they're doing independently will be different to what other people will be doing, so it shows a lot about them as well. So with the rest of the application process, like I said, once the university has looked at their personal statement and the rest of their application, they then have an offer that comes back. So the university will either give them a conditional offer. This usually means that they've got to meet the conditions. So this might be something like you need to meet the requirements which are A, B, B to get into this course. So that means on results day, they'd need to get A, B, B. If they do, they get onto the course. So really, really easy. Sometimes, even if they don't meet the requirements quite that well, the university might still accept them. So it's worth bearing that in mind as well. There's an unconditional offer, which means they are guaranteed an offer from that university no matter what their grades are. It's really important that you read the small print on these as well. University of Leicester gives an unconditional and they don't have to make a choice of where they put it. Some universities say that they can get an unconditional offer as long as they put their university as their first choice, their firm choice. So do read the small print on that as well. There's the interview, really straightforward. Go for an interview, and then they'll get either unconditional or conditional offer, or be declined. Declined means they've unfortunately not received a place. Hopefully, they will get offers and they won't be declined. But if they do happen to be declined, some courses are really, really competitive, like medicine, for example. But if they maybe are a little bit too aspirational and do get declined, then there is an option for them to go through UCAS track. This means that this will open and they will basically get to look at courses that still need to fill their places. They pick a university that has an offer to study at one of their courses. So they pick that. They then wait for the university to get back to them. If the university gives them a conditional offer, great. That's where they would be going. That would be their firm choice. If the university doesn't and they decline them, then they can just pick another one, and that's how UCAS track works. So it's UCAS extra even. UCAS extra works. UCAS track is where they can see these the conditional unconditional offers. UCAS extra is where they would go if they were declined from everything. Sorry, getting my words jumbled up there. So once they have their offers in, they then make their decision. So they choose their firm choice. So that's the university that they really, really want to go to. Sometimes it's a nice idea to make this the aspirational choice as well. So when they make their 5 choices, I know when I did mine, I picked 2 aspirational degrees, so courses that were slightly higher than my predicted grades, and then the other ones were what I was predicted. So sometimes it's a good idea if they get an offer from something that's a bit aspirational to put this as a firm choice if they think they can really see themselves there. But the insurance choice is meant to be that backup choice, so it's a really good idea to make sure the insurance choice has lower entry requirements to get in than the firm choice, or is their predicted grades as well. So do bear that in mind. And then once they've decided on those 2, they then decline the rest of them. So they don't need to worry about those. They're just kind of gone, and they've just got those 2 to focus on. So that's kind of how the application process works in regards to that and making their choices. Once they've made these, that's done, and all they need to do is focus on their exams before results day happens as well, and that's kind of where the next big step comes. With regards to this as well, another process that's really important is the student finance side of things as well. We're going to play another little bit of a game. It's a myth buster, so we're going to do a bit of a true or false, just to see how much you guys know and how much research you've been doing already. So the first question is: you've put down a deposit. Oh no, you have put a deposit. You have to put a deposit down for your student loan. Have a drink because I'm getting my words jumbled up now. So do you think that's true or false? You have to put a deposit down on your student loan. Quite a few people kind of not too sure. Let me know what you think. Anyone want to take a guess? Just put T or F. Which one you think it is? I'll give you 5 seconds.
There's loads had to go, Savannah. There's loads had to go. They're all saying false.
Mine's got stuck somewhere. Oh,
Hands and
brilliant.
I'm getting them. False, false,
Brilliant.
false, false, false,
Thank
false.
you. Yeah, brilliant. So you think it's false. And you are correct. So well done. So it is false. I can now see you. You're all at the bottom of the screen, so I can see that. Okay, so the next one is student finance is available for a range of qualifications, including HNCs and HNDs. This one might be a little bit more divided as well. It's a little bit harder. Let's see. A lot of trues coming in. Okay, give you 10 more seconds. Okay. So that was true, so well done. It seemed the majority said true, so well done. And then the next one is student loans do not show up on your credit report once you have graduated. Do you think that's true or false? Quite a few falses coming in, a few trues. Give you 10 more seconds. Okie dokie, let's see. So that's true. So for those of you who said false, surprise. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So well done if you got 3 out of 3. You've obviously been doing your research, or you've had someone who's gone to university already. Repayments start in your final year of study. Do you think that's true or false? Quite a few falses. Give you 10 more seconds. Okie dokie. So that is false. They actually start the April after you graduate. And it's only once you're earning after a certain amount too, which I'll go into. Everyone will get the same amount of student finance. Is that true or false? 5 more seconds. So that is false. So it depends on household income and other factors as well, which we will go into. So one thing I want to make really, really clear is that something that you need to be aware of, and if you think that finance is an issue for you, please do not let it be a barrier for sending your child to university. It doesn't affect the credit rating, it doesn't affect your credit rating, it doesn't leave them poor either. They repay it really fairly, which we'll go into. It doesn't leave them poor, and it's the graduates who pay it back, never the parents or the students either. So please don't let it be a barrier. It's something that I was really worried about when I went to university, so it's totally normal to kind of be concerned about how it works, but this is why we're doing this today. Don't let it be a barrier for them. How it works is there's a thing called Student Finance England, and with Student Finance England, they get a tuition fee loan. This is up to £9,250. This is the maximum a university can charge. Some offer slightly less, so it would cover for the lesser amount. But this goes directly to the university. I was gutted when I found this out because I thought I was going to have £9 in my pocket, but that is not the case. It's really nice though because it means you don't have to worry about it. It just gets automatically paid to them. There's then the maintenance loan. This is something that's paid directly to the child, and this is so that they can support themselves at university. So it goes towards, and it's a contribution for things like rent, food, extracurricular activities, and all the other things they need to do to live. For some people, the maintenance loan will completely cover them while they're at university. For others, it's not going to cover them all, so it's more of a contribution, and they'd need to look at other things like scholarships, bursaries, a part-time job, or maybe a little support from you guys to be able to kind of fund themselves as well, but we will go into that in a little bit more detail. University of Leicester is then where you get your bursaries and scholarships along with other universities and some companies as well, and I'll show you some of those weird and wonderful ones that companies do offer in a minute. So to be eligible for Student Finance England, they need to have settled status, so they need to be able to live in the UK without any home office restriction or ordinarily be a resident in England on the first day of the first academic year of their course as well. Another thing for their eligibility is they need to have been living in the UK for 3 years immediately prior to this date, so the date that they start the university. So that's kind of the eligibility criteria for student finance. With the maintenance loan, I know we talked a little bit on the Mythbuster, and I mentioned that the maintenance loan depends on a few different factors, and this is it kind of broken down for you. So you can see here that we've got the household income on the left. If their household income is 25,000 and under, they get the maximum amount. And then as the household income gets higher, the amount they get gets lower. This is because the idea is that you might be able to help them a little bit more and support them than those with a lower household income, which is why student finance do it this way. If they decide that they're going to commute and live at a parental home, they also get less money. This is just because they think that maybe you might help them and not charge them as much rent, and also maybe support them with food bills and stuff as well, which is why it's a little bit less. With this in mind, if they are thinking of commuting and the university is quite a way away, maybe look at transport specifically. I had a friend, and she wanted to go to Lancaster University, and she commuted from Cumbria, and she drove. And she actually found that the amount that she was spending on petrol and kind of the maintenance and running of her car added up to what she would probably pay for rent there anyway. So she decided to move there in a second year, just because it was only a little bit more, and it meant she wasn't having to kind of spend loads on university as well. So think about that too. Elsewhere, so if they go and study anywhere in the anywhere in the UK that's not London, that's the amount they'll get in column 2. If they decide to go to London, they will get slightly more than if they live at home or go to a university other places in the UK, just because London, it's higher inflation, so it's to support them further. If your household income is above 45k, it doesn't mean they're not going to receive anything. I just couldn't put any more than 45 on here because the list would be too long. And they will still get some kind of maintenance loan. I think it's around the £3,000 mark that they'd get. If the maintenance loan is higher. Go on student finance though, and you'll be able to find that out for definite and how much they'd get, because there's a student finance calculator. But that's it just for the first columns. If it's higher than that, they'll still get something. I just haven't got it on here. So there's also additional support, which is what Student Finance England do offer. This is things like disabled students allowance, help for students with children, and also adults dependent grant as well. The good thing about these are they're all included in the student finance calculator as well. I would really recommend that you kind of take note of this website and have a look at it, because it'll kind of give you an idea of what they would get as part of their maintenance loan. So you can look at what their budget might be depending on where they want to study as well. So do have a look at the student finance calculator, especially if your household income wasn't on my table before as well. So with loan repayments, they do have to repay their loan, but like I said, it's the graduates, not the students, and not you. How this works is there's no repayments until they're earning over £26,575. The repayment is 9% of everything they earn over that amount. So if they're earning £26,576, it's a pound over. Anyone who's good at maths will know 9% of a pound is 9p. So it's done in a really fair way. All outstanding repayments, they're written off after 30 years. So nothing happens to them. There's no red mark put against their name. It's just written off after that 30 years. The repayments don't start until the April after they've completed their studies either. So if they do find that they're earning above that £26,000 threshold straight away, they do have a bit of time before they'd be paying that back anyway. If they decide that they want to repay it early or kind of over repay, there's no penalty with that. If any of you are maybe thinking of are in the situation where you can pay for their tuition fees, I would get student finance and maybe think about investing that money in something like a house deposit, just because it's a better investment and there's no kind of penalty if you pay it. Nothing happens if you pay it early, or it's wiped out after 30 years anyway. So I would bear that in mind. It doesn't affect your credit rating. And it doesn't affect their credit rating either. It's a loan that's kind of invisible. So it's not a real loan in a way. It's just kind of something that supports you. And then you pay it off, that 9% if you need to. And it's written off after 30 years anyway. So when they do go to buy a house or get a credit card, It's not going to be on there, so it's not going to affect that at all. It's 9%. It's kind of 9%. I'll go into it, the 9% per month or per year in a second. Good question, though. How this works, as you'll see, is depending on their salary, depends on how much they get. So, like I said, if they're earning £26,575, they're under that threshold. So that means they don't pay anything back each month or each year. When they start earning over, so say they're earning £29,575, they're £3,000 over that threshold per year, and that means that the monthly repayment is £22.50. It's taken out per month, so it's done in a nice way. It's not just a massive chunk that's gone at the end of the year. It's taken out of their salary usually, which means that it's really good because they're if it's taken automatically, it means that they're used to seeing that money not there. And it's done in a fair way. Like you can see, they're still able to reap the benefits of being on that higher salary. I'm sure some of you will be paying more than £22.50 for some of their mobile contracts. So it's kind of like that in a way. It's done in a fair way so they can reap the benefits, and it is taken per month. So you can see the breakdown there as well. There is interest on the loans as well. So when they're earning below 26,575, it's retail price index, so RPI. At the moment, that stands at 2.6-ish. It does fluctuate a bit. So that might mean that it kind of goes up a little bit. It's never massive, so it's on that scale, somewhere on that scale. You can find that really easily on Google too. If it's between 26,575 and 47,835, it's done on a sliding scale. So it's anywhere between that RPI and 3%. So obviously if they're at the higher end, so the 47 end, then they're going to be nearer kind of 3% plus RPI. And if they're at the lower end, it's going to be more like RPI. And then when they're earning above 47,875, it's RPI plus 3%. So that's how it works with that. If you're thinking about interest, oh, that seems like quite a lot, how on earth are they going to be able to pay all that back? Remember, it's written out after 30 years, and don't worry about it. Under the current system, a graduate earning £31,575 a year earns repays £450 a year, which is about £37.50 a month. Over 30 years, that's £13,500. So it means that they've not even paid their tuition fee back in total, never mind the interest or the maintenance loan, and it's wiped out. Nothing happens after that if they've not paid it back. In fact, 83% of people with English student loans won't clear that debt in those 30 years. I will be one of them probably. So don't worry about it. It's wiped out after 30 years. It doesn't affect credit rating. It's just part of kind of the system that's in place at the moment. So please don't worry about it. You'll be part of the majority. And like I said, nothing happens to them. The repayments that they do make are in a really fair way. If they're on a salary, then it's usually taken automatically. If they're self-employed, they might have to do it just because, you know, what they're earning might change from month to month. But do be aware of that. You know, it's done in a fair way to help make sure they reap the benefits of that higher salary, but also pay a little bit that's manageable back. So how to apply with this? You apply online, or they apply online rather, on www.gov.uk/student finance. If you can't remember that, just go on gov.uk, type in student finance into the search bar, and you'll find it on there really easily. If they haven't made their decision on UCAS, they still need to apply. They don't need to make their decision before they apply because they can change it at a later date. It's actually better to make sure that they apply and meet the deadline than miss the deadline because it means that they might not get their student loan on time. So just get them to apply and apply to the choice that they think they're going to end up at, and then they can change it if they don't end up there. The household income part, so for the maintenance loan, it's assessed on the previous tax year. So it would be like on your P60 from the previous tax year. If you think that your kind of income has changed quite a lot, especially with what's going on at the moment with COVID, don't worry, because there is a current income assessment. So they can use that to kind of see what you're earning at the moment and make sure that your child gets a fair maintenance loan to support them. You kind of do your main application and then get in touch with Student Finance and they'll send you that current income assessment form. And like I said, it's linked to the UCAS application. So if they forget to change what university that they're ending up at, it will sort itself out, but it's best for them to change it themselves just to make sure everything's okay. And it's really important that they share to tick the information with the university. That just means that any bursaries that they'd be eligible for would go automatically to them, and we'd have their details as well, so they don't need to do anything. So nice and easy for you guys as well. They need to remember to reapply every year. Really, really straightforward. They usually just get an email through or a text message telling them to update their application, and they just need to go through and make sure everything's kind of the same as well. It just means that if the income has changed or anything has happened, then they can change it and sort itself out as well. When you come to do your part, because the head of the household will have to do a little bit on the application just to get the household income part of this. You need to make sure you're checking your junk mail, just because sometimes the email to you does end up in there. So just check that out if you know that they've completed their side and kind of put your details in. So check that and it'll go through everything you need. The thing that you need mostly is your P60, and that'll help you fill in the household income part. So really, really easy. And if you do get stuck, or you've got any kind of mitigating circumstances and you're not quite sure how to apply or whether you're eligible, just get in touch with Student Finance. They're really, really friendly, and they'll be able to kind of tell you anything you need to know as well. So with bursaries, scholarships and grants, like I said, this is free money, so you don't want to miss out on them, and there's so many available to you as well. We've got a few at University of Leicester that other universities kind of offer as well. So we've got stuff like the Centenary Scholarship of Excellence, which is an academic scholarship, and they get the amount depending on how well they do on their grades and if they put us as a firm choice. So if they do really well academically, they could get £4,000 if they put us as their firm choice. There's also sports scholarships, depending on the level of sports they have, they could get £5,000 to £500, and then there's music scholarships as well. A lot of universities do sports and music scholarships, but the kind of requirements for them do differ from university to university. So you will have to check that out. You can find a full list of ours at the website kind of below as well. But there's lots on offer, and there's also bursaries as well that they could be eligible for. And there's also some very weird ones as well. I did say companies do have them, and it's really worth checking them out. If you go on www.scholarship.hub.co.uk or .com, I think it might be .com actually, you can find so many different scholarships from loads of different companies. Some of the ones that I really like are the Vegetarian Charity Grant one. That's £500 or up to £500 for anyone who's a vegetarian at the moment, in financial need, and can promise not to eat any meat while at university. So really great one, really easy. There's also the Leverhulme Trust one, which is very weird and wonderful, and it's for anyone who kind of is a son, daughter, spouse, widow or widower of a grocer, chemist or travelling salesman who's in need of support as well. So there's a lot of great ones out there. Desmond Tutu Scholarship is a lot more competitive, but it's really great for anyone kind of who wants to change the world as well. So there's loads out there for them to try. Lots of STEM scholarships as well, so check them out. So some of the key dates that I have, just to go over them again, is the 15th of October for medicine, dentistry, veterinary science and Oxbridge, 15th of January for all other applications except some art courses. End of May is the Student Finance England deadline. It opens at the end of February, so it's quite a bit of time to get your application in. I can't give you a specific date because it changes every year. So just look on the Student Finance England website and you'll be able to find out when it opens and also the deadline as well. It's usually around the 28th of May. So just be aware of that. So it is the end. July to October is when clearing opens. I would really, really recommend that before results day, they just have a quick look at clearing just to see what courses are out there. So if they do find that they end up in clearing, they have a list of universities and the numbers that they need to phone so they can just get straight on it as well, because they can go really quickly the places. 13th of August is the results day, which is a long way off yet. But if you do have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, or I'll maybe see you nearer the time as well of that results day. And then September is the deadline for University of Leicester accommodation and some other university accommodation as well. So just be aware of that when they do kind of make that journey into accommodation too. So before I kind of end and ask you any questions, I just want to point out, if you do think that maybe you want to do a master's or you want to do an undergraduate, remember, age has no limit, and we would be more than happy to have you as well. There's student finance that you'd be able to apply to. My mate and colleague Charlotte, she's really great and she would look after you as well. She's got a lot of knowledge behind this if you do have any questions, where you can contact her as well. So maybe consider it. There's a lot of support there and we can talk to you about that in a bit more detail if you're interested in making the journey yourself. So I will pass on to Barry now, and we'll do some questions. If you have any, feel free to write them in the comments section and we'll answer them as well between us. And we've also got a few webinars and open days that you can see up there. And I've also got some useful links that I've put here just with some of the things that we're doing at the moment that your child or you might want to check out as well. But yeah, thank you very much for having me, Barry.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, I would like to say, a few have said that will the slides be available, and I'm sure Savannah would be happy to send the presentation to me. We'll put those on there, and we're recording this now, so we'll put the recording of the presentation also on the website. So if you missed anything or want to go back and look at something a little bit more closely, you can always go and do that as well. While you're maybe asking some questions, I also want to say that the students themselves will have an activity day in March, and that day will be focused on applying for finance. So it'll be shortly after the applications open, and we'll go through. Leicester usually help us with that as well, actually, a bit of budgeting and a bit of kind of like, you know, how to fill in the form and so on. So you'll get more information from the school and from the pupils at the time of finance application. And equally, can I also say that a lot of what Sana's been talking to you about, I've been talking to pupils about today, about the personal statement, about how to make it unique. We've been talking about how to get that first paragraph, that first opening sentence and this sort of stuff. So do talk to your children about what they've learned today, if they've been to one of the sessions, especially the one about personal statements. So if you're worried about, you know, are they on course, see what they can tell you about what they've been told. We have registered for something called George Teachers this year with the school. It means that all pupils have access to some resources, but also a forum which they can ask for advice. So, you know, we've got more than ever in terms of support and guidance, not just from the school, but also online. So they should have plenty of information to get them started with personal statements and filling in the application form. BMAT, we asked about BMAT. I understand, I don't know what you've been told, Savannah, that they're still consulting about admissions tests. I understand that the idea is that they might go online if they are not going to be able to be face-to-face. Is that what you're hearing, Savannah?
Yeah, so for the BMAT, we don't actually do the BMAT at the University of Leicester. We do the UCAT test, so slightly different, and they would need to do the test that the university asks for. It's something that you kind of just need to be aware of. Just keep on checking the website and talking to the universities as well about what's happening. If it is going to be November 2020 when they get the test, then you know they're still going to have to do at the moment their application for October, but it might mean that they kind of wait until those results before they make their final decision. Do just check that. It's kind of waiting and seeing what happens at the moment with regards to that. But with the BMAT specifically, because we don't run it, I can't advise too much about that.
I mean, the news is for all the tests that I know, the Oxbridge test, the BMAT test, they're waiting and seeing, like everyone is waiting and seeing what is going to be allowed in that time. You will not need to have the result before you apply, because you won't do the BMAT until the end of October, beginning of November. You do that at the same time as you do any other entrance tests for Oxford or Cambridge that are required. We will send you a form in September for you to register for that, and then BMAT tests, if they go ahead as normal, will take place in the conference centre at school. But if they're not, they may possibly have to go online. But watch this space and wait and see. Are there any other
There has
questions
been
that
quite a few
any
questions that have
parents or
come through. There's one that's come through just about student finance. With student finance, it's before the February before they kind of go to university. So that's kind of how that works. If they're choosing to go on a gap year, they can choose to apply normally to university and do a deferred entry. This is something I'd recommend just because you kind of get the support from the school as well, by doing a deferred entry, and it means that they can go on their gap year and they know where they're going to go to university. Um, and then with the student finance in regard to a gap year, it would be the year that they're going to study that they apply to that. So even if they're applying this year, but they're not actually choosing to go till next year, they would do their student finance next year, so the year they're going to that. I hope that kind of makes sense. But yeah, for gap year, it's up to them. They can choose to defer entry or wait until afterwards. But I would recommend doing deferred. There's no harm in it, and it's a good idea. Um, oh, there's another question. Does applying to universities in Canada affect the UCAS application? You wouldn't use UCAS if you're applying to a university in Canada. So that's
and what you would need to do is, if you were thinking about applying to both, which often people do apply to UK universities, that you'd use UCAS, but all the other international applications are usually very complicated, and Fulbright's is the place to go to in the web on the website. They will give you information about all the international applications, both European and international. I will say, as if you put what people are typing, that moving on from now, we hopefully will equip everyone in the yesterday and today. There's some more talks tomorrow. Tomorrow and today. Tomorrow we've got more talks on medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, and also on Russell Group and Oxbridge and Cambridge and so on. By then, we hopefully will equip them to have made some progress over the summer. There are many schools who are not really doing any of this yet and are waiting until calmer times before they start doing this. So I think our pupils will be in the vanguard of this. And I repeat what I say about an early application probably will be a good one this year. I don't want to be the harbinger of doom, but there may be quite a few people who are deferring entry this year because of all the COVID things, and that means that the perspective is that the places for 2021 may be a little bit more competitive, shall we say, along the way. So getting an early application in, I think, may well be a profitable thing to do. I'm not seeing any more questions, but okay. Thank you for that. I'm not seeing any more questions in the thing there, just thank yous. And can I, I'll leave you to finish, Savannah, but can I just say a huge thank you to Savannah. The presentations, as always, are helpful and useful and give you stepping stones to find out more information. Look at all the the links that she's giving you along the way to more information, and be worth keeping just as the process starts happening to you. At the minute, we're well ahead of the game, but as the autumn term starts coming around, then you will find that the information becomes more relevant to you. That's the time now we're going to start thinking about this or that or the other. So thank you so much for that. And as I said, she may be popping back, or someone from Leicester may be popping back in the spring term to talk about finance to the pupils along the way. And can I say to all the parents that it is complicated for the pupils. It can be sometimes even more so for you. So please don't hesitate to get in contact with us, myself, Miss Thompson, Miss Arthur, who's been listening to this here tonight. If you, or more importantly, your child is stressing about any part of the process, we've tried to make the information as early as possible and as clear as possible, but inevitably there will be little hiccups along the way. And just to tell everyone, I think I put it in the chat that we normally are looking at getting predicted grades out to you in the third week in September. It's going to be challenging, of course, with the lack of assessments that we've been able to do in this last few months and so on, but we'll aim to sort of meet that deadline at the end of September. But that grade that we send out at that point is something which obviously we'll look at all the way through the autumn term as we get more and more information about assessments when they're back in school. Hopefully, altogether, I think it's Friday, the 4th of September is the deadline we're aiming for a return to proper life, he said confidently. So, thanks, Lena. A question about gap years. My view is that it is easier to, if you know you're taking a gap year, to apply this year and defer, to have the place for 2022 already in your hand, already there waiting for you, than it is to apply in the gap year itself, because it means you then have to apply late. And when you're not at school, and communicate with me and others and so on to get the reference done and this sort of stuff. So it is easier if you're taking a gap year and you know you're doing it, you know what you're doing in it, to tell that to the universities now and to ask them to give you a place for the year afterwards. And it will give you an option on the form to say, are you applying now, or are you applying for the next year? So Graham's just asked when the students' grades are made available. So we aim for the third week in September. It's a report that comes home. But as I said, for those that are applying to October deadlines, of course, that's quite pertinent. But for those who will be looking for applying for deadlines later in November, December, and so on, those grades can change and will change as we get more information about their assessments in the autumn term. What's early for medicine, dentistry, and so on? September. I've had some people that have given me a completed form in the first week of term in September, and it's gone off sort of like a week later. So that's early. But you're right, most go off in late September, early October. And I have to say, beware that as with the January deadline, there is a kind of like a little rush of applications coming in at the same time, and we need a little while to get references written and so on. So certainly if you're giving it to us in late September, early October, then we will aim to get them out certainly in good time for the 15th of October deadline. Okay, I think Julia's still typing. For the rest of you, can I say thank you very much for coming and for listening tonight, and stay in touch. Thank you again to Savannah, and I think that will wrap up.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much all for listening. I know it's a long talk with a lot of information, but you play such an important role, and it's great to speak to so many of you, and hopefully see how I'm going to help you as well, and how you can take this further to make sure they make the right decisions. So thank you all for attending. If you do have any questions that didn't get answered, feel free to get in touch with me. You can do that on the website, or Barry can always email me as well. But thank you all for listening, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye now.